The wheel is often hailed as humanity's greatest invention, a symbol of civilization and progress. But what if everything we thought we knew about its origin was wrong? Not just the when, but the why, the how, and even who deserves credit. For centuries, history books taught us a tidy version, sometime around 3500 BCE. In ancient Mesopotamia, a group of brilliant early engineers attached wooden discs to axles, and the world changed forever. But newly uncovered evidence, including strange artifacts found in the marshlands of Eastern Europe and unexpected carvings deep in the Iranian plateau, are telling a radically different story, one that reshapes the very timeline of invention and rewrites the foundations of human ingenuity. Imagine this: a circular imprint carved into the stone floor of a Neolithic cave in what is now Serbia, dated to over 7,500 years ago, nearly 2,000 years earlier than the supposed first wheel. Initially dismissed as a mere decoration or ritual symbol, new dating technology has revealed rare patterns that match those found on later, functional wheels. But it's not just about the object. Surrounding the imprint are drawings of animals yoked to a strange cart-like shape, suggesting this wasn't a prototype. It was already part of daily life. If that's true, then our entire framework of innovation, the timeline, the region, even the context, collapses into dust. The biggest myth about the wheel is that it was a simple, inevitable invention. After all, rolling things is obvious, right? Wrong. Nature rarely provides circular things. No tree falls perfectly round, and no rock rolls itself into a wheel. The concept of carving a disc, attaching it to a stationary axle, and ensuring that both rotate independently while bearing weight, that requires advanced understanding of material dynamics and friction. And yet, this astonishing mechanical idea appears not once, but independently across different ancient cultures. In the plains of Ukraine, archaeologists unearthed stone models of two-wheeled carts buried beside early agriculturalists, along with traces of copper jewelry and textile tools. These people weren't Mesopotamians. They had no writing, no cities, and no grand temples. But they had mobility, a deep connection to the land, and now, it seems, a grasp of rotational engineering. Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, in Central America, small clay figurines from the Olmec civilization depict animals with tiny wheels for feet. These weren't practical transport devices, but they prove the concept of the wheel existed there, despite no evidence of actual wheeled vehicles. Which raises a profound question: why would some cultures discover the wheel, but never use it for transport? The answer may be buried not in tools, but in terrain. Wheels are only useful where the land allows them to roll. Thick jungles, steep hills, and soft, wet ground neutralize the wheel's power. In the Andes, people carried goods on their backs or used llamas. In the dense forests of Southeast Asia, sleds were favored. In other words, the wheel isn't just a matter of invention, it's about environment. But what if we've misunderstood the wheel's first true function? Recent research from remote sites in western Iran suggests the wheel began not as a transport device, but as a part of something much more ordinary, pottery. Long before the cart, there was the potter's wheel, and it may have existed as far back as 5000 BCE. Early potters discovered that rotating clay on a horizontal platform allowed for smoother, more uniform vessels. Over time, these turntables became faster, more efficient, and more refined. At some point, perhaps quite by accident, someone realized that the spinning base could be used not just for shaping clay, but for movement. There's also compelling evidence that the wheel's first real challenge wasn't conceptual, it was technological. Creating a rotating disc is easy, but ensuring it moves without grinding against the axle takes real innovation. In fact, early wheels were not two parts, they were solid, single blocks of wood. It took centuries before the idea of a separate axle and bearing system emerged, and it may not have happened in Mesopotamia at all. In a newly discovered burial site in Romania, archaeologists found cart remains with a two-part wheel and axle system that predates similar Mesopotamian designs by over 500 years. These were not simple farming devices, they were ceremonial, carved with symbols, suggesting spiritual or social significance. Why would a technological marvel like the wheel first emerge in spiritual or artistic contexts? Because that's how human minds often work. We don't always invent for need, we invent for meaning. The first wheels may have turned not for agriculture, but for ritual. In some ancient burials, wheels are found beneath the deceased, symbolizing transition, journey, or rebirth. In essence, the wheel began not as a tool, but as a metaphor. Yet, once the idea was out, it spread like wildfire? Or did it? New genetic and cultural mapping suggests a far slower, more fractured path. The wheel didn't radiate from a single origin point, like fire or writing. Instead, it flickered to life in isolated pockets, reinvented multiple times. From the grassy steppe to the marshy river deltas, early peoples discovered and lost the wheel again and again. Some abandoned it due to terrain, others lacked the animal power to pull carts. The real revolution came not with the first wheel, but with the roads. Early roads were not planned, they were formed by repetition, tracks carved by repeated cart travel, then hardened by labor, and later reinforced by stone. And once those roads appeared, the wheel found its true power. Suddenly, goods could move faster. Cities could feed more people. Armies could travel further. The wheel didn't just carry things, it carried civilization. But here's the most stunning twist. What if the wheel wasn't entirely a human idea at all? In the last few years, microscopic imaging of certain beetles revealed structures within their limbs that resemble primitive gear systems. These interlocking joints rotate, not in a metaphorical sense, but mechanically, transmitting force with precision. Nature, it seems, had been toying with rotation long before humans ever carved wood. And perhaps we unconsciously imitated what we saw in the wild: the spiral of the snail shell, the roll of a dung beetle's ball, the relentless turning of the stars overhead. The wheel, in that light, isn't just a human invention, it's a response to a deeper pattern, one written into nature itself. Rotation is everywhere, the earth spins, seasons cycle, water wheels churn. The earliest humans may have seen circular motion not as utility, but as mystery. And so, in shaping that first wheel, they weren't just engineering, they were participating in a cosmic rhythm. Today, we often imagine progress as a straight line. First the wheel, then the cart, then the car, then the rocket. But the real story is a spiral. The wheel was invented, forgotten, reimagined, re-engineered. It wasn't a eureka moment, it was a journey, across geography, across centuries, across cultures. And the deeper we look, the more that journey spirals away from the neat textbook version. What if, in some forgotten corner of the world, a civilization once mastered the wheel, then vanished, leaving no trace but a strange circle in the stone? What if the first cart was pulled not by oxen, but by people, across sand that erased their footprints? What if the very idea of the wheel, that most mechanical of things, was born not of industry, but of art? As we dig deeper, the wheel's true story reveals something profound. Invention is not just a product of brains, but of environment, of imagination, and of mystery. The wheel is not just an object, it's a symbol of our ability to see the invisible, to make the world spin on our own terms. And perhaps that's the real legacy, not the roundness of the wheel, but the endless loop of discovery continues to drive forward. Like this video if it challenged what you thought you knew. Subscribe for more journeys into the forgotten corners of time and space. Because sometimes, to move forward, we have to go back and reimagine the very things that made us human.